So there's a quote from Peter Drucker who says, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." And what we believe about that is that the culture ultimately trumps everything because it's creating the way of being within the company. So you can say you want to do this or that with the strategy, but if the culture is not in alignment, then it'll never happen. On the corollary of that, if you have a culture that is really in alignment, you don't have to do a lot of management because everybody's operating from that culture and those core values to make it happen.
Revolutionary concept of the time, and now it's amazing how many companies will come through Zappos and say, you know what, I have to do free shipping now because of you. Like, you ruined my business. They have to react to us and our business model. And the other thing was, because we didn't have that money to get the advertising, we said, how can we create an experience that's so incredible that people will talk about it? And what we decided to bet on was the service and the customer experience. And it was truly a bet because we cut the marketing spend. Just cut it out and said, let's just see if this could work. And it ended up working. People started talking about it. They said, this is amazing, their level of service. And to this day, we have an incredibly high standard for it. There's no call limit time. It's amazing, the stories of how that commitment was tested time and again. And since then, it's had its rewards to the point where American Express's customers have voted Zappos #1 customer service in the world. And it's altering whole industries. And so at that point, there's this interesting thing that Zappos has made it a business model to do the impossible. So it was impossible at first at the time to sell shoes online. Everybody said, this is not going to work. We did that. Then this impossibility of being the biggest shoe store online did that. And then everybody said, this is at the time, this is not now, you wouldn't believe this now, but at the time, everybody was saying, you cannot base your company on customer service. You just cut out 25% of your revenue. You're building a store, and you just chopped off all these customers. They said you cannot build an entire brand based on customer service. Customer service is something to be minimized, something to cut the investment on, something to cut the time on. That was the thinking. And so again, this idea of doing the impossible. And all of these, what's interesting about this, which I hope you kind of will get a sense of for your own personal story even, is that all of these build up on each other. That they're all leading to something else. It's reinvention without restarting.
What I'm really here to share with you is something that may not be on your radar. Something that I actually believe is going to be obvious in a matter of years to everyone. This is a factory scene, turn of the century. Now, these were pretty hard times cranking out widgets in factories and just driving people like slaves. And then at one point, somebody said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give people breaks. I'm going to give them a little time away to chill out, relax. And that idea at the time was completely crazy, nuts. We are ingrained in it with our school breaks, with work breaks, with lunch breaks. It's part of our culture right now. But back then, the idea of giving people free time, people said, you're paying people not to work. You're not getting more widgets out of them. How could you do that? This is the stupidest business move ever. And yet, what happened? The guy who tried that had less injuries, had higher morale, and in the long run, not the short run, definitely not the short run, but in the long run, ended up more successful and outputting more widgets.
That through this, you're going to start to see these connections between how we're doing these training, how the culture and customer service connect together, that they're not two separate things. It's not that we have culture over here and service over here, and let's do them both differently. As Tony was talking about, we needed to create an entire company based on service.
I think something to keep in mind is that culture is very infectious. Whatever the culture is, it's going to spread. Whatever's going on is just going to keep on growing. That's what a culture is, especially from just the sheer biological meaning of the term culture. And so a lot of people think that a culture change is a big, huge 3 to 5 year initiative. And yes, there are certain things that will take that long to change. But culture at its core is really just an experience that you're having in that moment. When people come through here, they experience it immediately. They say they get it just in the lobby, just by being there for a moment. And that took one person creating that experience in just a minute for another person. So while it may take a while to have that proliferate throughout a whole organization, anybody who's a leader or manager or any kind of employee has choice as to what they do in that moment to create culture. In fact, somebody who just went through our boot camp said they went home from the boot camp, they were so excited, so happy to take home these changes and do things, and so tired from all the activities that we had and nights out that she started to sleep on the plane. And she was just sleeping on the way, and the person next to her starts waking her up, and just keeps on waking her up, asking for a pen. She's just like, oh my God, I'm trying to sleep, she's thinking, and this person's bugging me for a pen. It gets completely annoyed, but then looks closer and realizes it's somebody who doesn't speak English, who is having a lot of trouble filling out their travel forms. And it just hit her right then, wait a minute, this is an opportunity for me to be of service. And she stopped and took time to help her through the form and to get her through that. The woman was so grateful and happy. And it was in that moment where she could have just made a different choice very easily, to been annoyed, to say, this is leave me alone, I'm trying to sleep, this is my time, and decided to make a different choice. And it happened in that instant, at that plane, in her life, right there was a culture shift. And I think it's really dangerous thinking to believe that a big shift takes years when it can literally take a moment.
Of it is that the downfall of any organization, any community, any company, it's always the lie, the joke, when people put it on the outside. Market conditions and anything externally, it always happens because the group, company, etc. moves away from its core principles. So if you notice, I started in on the conversation talking about a new world that I'm from and bringing that back to you and talking about it here. But in hearing where the conversation was going, if you notice, all I really did was bring coaching back to the coaches. And I think it would be an error to assume that that is Bobette or any of her team's responsibility, that is my responsibility, but that it can happen at any moment this entire weekend. It can happen at the breakfast. It can happen just in the hallway. I mean, what struck me, that was the fascinating disconnect that I saw when I got here to be here for the first 2 days. It wasn't the speakers. It wasn't, the programming. It was, wait a minute, I'm having a really cool conversation here. It's interesting, it's fun, but it's not why I came here. I came here for the breakthroughs, for the coaching conversations, and I'm around the biggest group of master coaches I've seen. So the joke there is that when it gets offline, we're simply bringing it back to the commitment, bringing it back to those core values, the same way that I talked in the beginning about bringing it back to service no matter what. You, as part of this community, always have the power to bring this community back online in a hallway break, at a breakfast, anywhere, by simply taking that opportunity to say, no, this isn't just social hour. This isn't just let's talk about this or have fun or joke around. That's cool too. But that the power of being around masters like yourselves is that breakthroughs can happen throughout the entire experience. And and that's what excites me for you guys right now, is that I feel that those kind of moments, when you hear somebody speak and say, I was about to leave CAM this morning, it's fantastic in the sense of that's a turning point. In the sense of, wait a minute, there's an interesting recommitment happening here, meaning there's a new possibility, a new life. And my prediction is, if you embrace that, if you go with that, if you believe that possibility and you commit to that, then CAM next year, or Camelot, or whatever the event is going to be, is going to start like where we are right now. So imagine it was just continuing and the breakthroughs are expanding from here. So if your commitment is to that, if your commitment is to continue to be the best coaches in the world, then we're just getting started. Thank you. Honor spending time with you.